Hi there, Anita Dawn from Cell Pilates, and I am doing a series on looking at Pilates and questioning whether we actually get enough strength training in a Pilates class. Today we're looking at the abdominals. A lot of our core work, it's about the abdominals, but the core, particularly in Pilates, that's the focus. So the core is not a muscle of movement. It's really stabilizing the spine, and it wraps around the waist like a corset. And we tend to do that in Pilates, either kneeling or lying on the floor. So is that functional? So let me just review what we might do in a Pilates class. I'm not saying it's the only ones that we would do. And perhaps some people do standing core work as well. But using gravity is quite difficult to do it standing. So one of the main reasons why we do it work the core on the floor is because, one, we're supported by the floor, supporting the spine, and two, we're lifting against gravity. So there's several ways that we do work the core, and I'm just going to go through one. So one is to engage your core muscles in neutral, and then we do very slow, controlled leg floats, and we might go on to a little bit harder and stabilizing the pelvis. So it's quite hard work on the core, but is it functional, strengthening your abs while you're lying on the floor? Yeah. Another way that we work them is in rotations. Let me come on this side, because the abdominal muscles, we have 5 sets of muscles. You have well, let's not go through that, but if you want to know more about the muscles in the core, then do get in touch, and I'll send you a handout there. So here we're focusing on spinal rotation. It is a fabulous movement for creating mobility in the thoracic spine, but how functional is that lying on the floor? So let me just show you the way that I teach it in my strength training classes, and a lot of other people as well. So we have a lot of equipment we can use in a strength training class. The traditional one is with dumbbells or with barbells, okay? But when you're using a free weight like this, you are dependent upon gravity. Okay, so it's quite difficult to be in a functional position when you're dependent upon gravity. Okay, so when we use the bands and the anchor, we're not dependent upon gravity at all. So let me show you a couple of my favorite ones here. All right, so when we are doing our back work, our chest work here, I'm just going to show you. If I do rows by standing up here, I'm really working my core, because if I don't use my back core muscles, I'm going to fall forward. So I'm standing in a parallel stance, and it does detract a little bit there, the way that I do it. If I wanted to work the back, I'd have a split stance, less core. But if I had my feet parallel, really working in a very functional way, because I'm upright. And if we need a strong core when we're pushing and pulling in everyday life, correct? So that also happens. So that was the back core muscles. And then we have I'm going to lean slightly forward because the anchor is high on this one. So I'm doing a press, and I'm working my front core muscles like crazy because the band is pulling me backwards. So the core muscles work to keep me upright. And then we have the rotational, working through just the curls. Yeah, we have curls on the floor, not really functional. You're just tightening, flexing forward and tightening in the front, which is going to do more harm than good, because it's drawing you into that kyphotic posture by tightening the front of the body and not working through the full range. So fabulous with, you can have a door anchor. This is actually a wall anchor, and the bands. I've got a 10 to 15 pound band, and because I'm actually focusing on my rectus abdominis, my flexion muscles, my flexor muscles in the core, then I'm going to take a split stance. All right, so it's not about the core, it's about the superficial muscles. So I'm going to get some tension on the band here, and I'm just getting myself in neutral. I'm going to work full range. I'm going to inhale under tension there with the band, and exhale come into slight flexion. So I'm working functionally through the full range of my abdominal muscles, which I think is so much more functional than lying on the floor. And with the rotation, we can use, I have this little, because it's a little low there, I would kneel on the floor for this one. It's a bit difficult without a mat, yeah? So I would bring the band here and I would rotate. Although that's kneeling, at least it's a little bit more functional than lying on the floor. So I would probably take that a little bit higher on a door anchor. But I can still work with it here. And in a standing position, I'm working my oblique muscles in as part of the core makeup. So really very, very functional. I've got my shoes on that give me stability, because strength training is not really about balance. So we want some good stable shoes there. Whereas in Pilates, we're looking at really having that contact with the feet into the floor and mobilizing the toes and getting all those bones in, those muscles in the feet working. Yeah. So I hope that kind of clarified the why we need to do strength training as well as Pilates. And as I've mentioned in some of the other sessions, that Pilates, the focus of the exercises is different. It's about slow controlled movement. It's about getting nice controlled mobility and getting the range of movement in all the joints really slow and controlled. And when we're doing strengthening, then we're working, so we are doing a certain amount of strengthening in the core, but we're only using against gravity, the body weight against gravity, which might be enough depending on the exercise that you do. Yeah. And then the focus on strength training is very much getting the correct resistance. So if I use this for my rotation here, that's a little bit too light. I know I'd probably go and do 30 repetitions probably. This is a little bit high, but I'm just going to show you that this is actually 4 times the resistance. So I'm actually going to do that, and I won't be able to do more than 12 repetitions with that sort of resistance. All right, so I would need that at the height, same height of pull there, to do a really effective workout for those oblique muscles. And then we need to keep track of what we're doing, because we need to repeat the same thing another 1 or 2 times during that week. So 2 to 3 sessions a week for strength training in order to either gain strength and muscle. We're looking at building the muscle, not building. They won't get big as a female. They'll just get more dense, but we need them, because also when we work the muscles and keep them strong, they pull on the bones and they keep the bones strong. So help prevent osteopenia and osteoporosis. All right. But it's very common now that people over 60 are starting to show sarcopenia, which is a wasting of the muscle, and that's really quite serious. And it does then bring about more injury at the joints, harder to get around, reduced mobility, maybe needing a chair to get around, a wheelchair, and then becoming rather independent upon other people. So I think it's a no-brainer that we do both. Pilates for that beautiful flexibility, mobility in the body, and really working the deep core muscles in quite a functional way, because the deep core muscles want light overload. So, but then it's the functional position. We don't really need strong core muscles lying on the floor, unless, I don't know. Okay, so thanks for joining me today. If you've got any comments, any questions, get in touch with me. But thanks for joining me. And so continue doing your Pilates, really important. And not just beginners, do the beginners before you go into strength training. It will give you really base of stability in the joints, really safe way to start your strength training journey. Yeah. So thanks for joining me, and good luck. Yeah.